Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Just Believe podcast. I'm your host, HB Mack, and today I am honored to have this lovely young lady. We met through Instagram, we connected. Once she told me her story, I was like, I have to find a platform where we can exchange each other ideas and stories and whatnot. Her name is Miss Gillian. How are you doing today?
Hi, Herbie. I'm great. How are
Good.
you?
I am
Thanks for
good. I'm
having
good.
me
I'm good.
on.
Anytime, anytime. Um, Before we start, I want you to tell people your story and obviously tell them what do you do now?
Sure, sure. The very beginning of my story is, and I'll be very blunt, I lost my beautiful 15-year-old daughter to suicide 6 years ago. It was life-altering. It was devastating. She was my world. Her name was Abby. She was 15 years old. She was in high school, and she was an amazing, amazing girl. Again, extremely life changing, and in what happened to not only for our family but for the entire community. It was pretty shocking that she took her own life.
Yeah, yeah, which no parent wants to deal with that. It's supposed to be the other way around. It's like an unwritten rule. When you reached out to me through Instagram or Messenger, I can't remember. And you told me the story. I was like, wow, it connected with me in a way because I was that 14, 15-year-old kid who life changed. I was battling depression and no one knew what it was. It's something that's not talked about. I think now it is with with social media and everything's happening, and now you're seeing the green ribbons and the purple and the teal. So it's outstanding with that. But it's like during this time, no one can tell you how real mental health is and depression is. It's one of the things that's unfortunate. It affected you and your family, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It's not the natural order of things. Uh, I have learned so much in the last 6 years about mental illness and what it can do to you physically, emotionally, mentally. And I have a much better sense now. I will say that we knew what we knew at the time. Abby was diagnosed with clinical depression about a year and a half before she died, which was shocking to our family because, and to everyone else for that matter, because she was, again, on the outside, this outgoing, beautiful, blonde varsity cheerleader with a lot of friends and a lot of love to give. She was very compassionate, and everybody wanted to be like her. Everybody wanted to be like Abby. They looked up to her. And a few girls said to me after she died, now granted, these were 15-year-olds, 15, 16-year-olds, and said, I was kind of jealous of Abby. I wanted to be like Abby. Abby was perfect. And when I started to hear those things, it reminded me and it told me what kind of pressure she was under. So not only just being a 15-year-old high school girl, but also dealing with her own self-doubt and self-worth and feeling that peer pressure every single day, unintentional peer pressure, mind you, nothing done on purpose. She was never bullied or anything like that. But depression is very real, and her depression was really bad, and we thought we were doing all the right things. We therapists and doctors. She suffered from really bad migraines, so it was that combination, that kind of perfect storm. And again, she took her own life the last day of school. She was a sophomore and she had finals coming up the next week. We talked about how much she had to look forward to. She was going to be going to camp, and she had said to me that week that she was feeling stressed. And I said, honey, you're going to get through your finals and you have so much to look forward to. And little did I know what was behind that one comment.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I think, when I was 14, 15, the pressure of school by itself is different. You have so many people looking at you, judging you, being hard on you. Oh, you're not wearing this, or you're not the cool kid because you don't have these sneakers, or whatever the latest fashion trend is during that time. And then you have to get good grades on top of that. Because if you don't get good grades, the parents are going to be mad at you. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? For a while, my report card was literally all F's. And my parents was like, hey, what's going on? The teachers was like, hey, he's just here, quiet. He doesn't bother anybody. He sits in a corner. He takes the notes. He raises his hands in class. He's just not doing the homework, or it just wasn't sticking to me. And they didn't understand the signs of depression. I think it was beautiful that you was like, okay, maybe my daughter needs help. Let me go see a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist to actually see what's wrong. Which is, I applaud you for that. Being on top of it. Like, I know as a parent, it's hard to be hard on yourself. Like, oh man, I should have did this differently. I should have did that. But you did your best, and that's what matters. And I think that's what's being a good parent, is doing your best. Using the tools that you have and doing your best. But when school was happening, my parents didn't realize what was going on. They just thought I was acting out because it was that teenager phase. And I was like, no, I'm sad. I am. I'm sad, until I had that awkward conversation with my grandma, who just pretty much cursed me out in a way where it's like, hey, you have so much to give to you. And my grandmother never cursed at me the whole time in my life. So that was like whoa, maybe I'm bugging out, which I was blessed because I was able to go to summer school, night school, and day school to really graduate on time. But when you decided, okay, let me go to a professional and see what's going on, how was that process?
Honestly, horrible. You get thrown into this new world. As I say, there's no fast track in getting help. It is a full-time job, and talking to therapists and getting the right medications, and constantly trying to figure things that are going on. Now, understand that, when you're that age, it is very easy to hide what is really going on with you. And that's why we talk about how important it is to speak out, reach out, find a trusted adult. If you talk to a friend, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, talk about, why it's so important for young adults now to learn how to look for signs of, depression or suicide ideation. The process is hopeful in a way that more and more people are talking about this, but we still have a long way to go. I mean, I am not a professional, but I will tell you that, the last therapist that Abby saw 3 months before she died said, you know what, Abby, you're doing great. I think we're good now. I think we're good. I mean, it was so shocking to me, but I was like, oh, okay, she's a professional, she's the one that's
She
understanding
knows what she's talking about.
Again, Abby was 15 years old and knew how to hide things really well. And Herbie, what I love about you is that you are able to open up and tell people what you've gone through. And storytelling is so critical in being able to help others and reach out. And the more we share our stories, the more I think we can help people. And
thank you. Please
know that that you're not alone. I think that's really one of the most important messages.
Oh, yeah, it is. It really, that's the reason why I started storytelling. Being on Instagram, I took probably about a 3-4 year break from Instagram. Just mentally, I wasn't there. And then because I was going through my dark phase and that dark chapter in that book of mine, and I was able to build myself up. And then I was like, you know what, I just have to tell my story. Let me just be an advocate and just tell my story, because I know there's someone out there that's similar to me, that's going through it, or maybe who just needs something to that window of hope. Oh, it's not that bad. If he was able to overcome it for all these years, I can do it. And that's why I started telling my stories, and the DMs that I was getting every day from people that I don't know. And I was saying, thank you. And I was like, okay, maybe this is my calling. Maybe this is the reason why I'm here. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why I got chance after chance after chance to, hey, share your story. You're going to connect with people in a way where you probably can't even imagine. And so far, it's been a blessing. You know, I'm out in Tampa and you're out in Connecticut, where it's like we're able to connect and not only share our stories, but we have the same goal, and to help people out and spread that mental health awareness.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to continue to talk about it, and we have to continue to make sure that you understand that, depression is a brain disease. It is
Mm-hmm.
just like breaking your arm, but it's not visible. That's the
Yeah.
problem. It's not visible. And it's very hard to articulate how you're feeling. And when that depression starts talking to you and saying, you're a bad person and you're not worthy and everybody's better off without you. I mean, how horrible for me to think that my daughter even felt that
Yeah.
way. We truly had a loving family and we thought we were doing our best, but suicide does not discriminate. It
Yeah.
does not discriminate. And as you were saying, you have to have that glimmer of hope. You have to know somehow that there is hope and help available, and you will get through this. And it's very hard to tell someone like, oh, you have so much going on. You've got it all, I mean, and I know all of that comes up when a celebrity dies by suicide, like Robin Williams. It's
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
he had everything. How could he even dream of taking his own
Mm-hmm.
life? And that's when the reality sinks in
Like,
that
yeah.
this is what depression, or bipolarity or any of these horrible brain diseases, can do to you as a
Yeah.
person. So, yeah, keep spreading that message of
No,
hope.
I'm
And
trying to. I'm trying to. I think having guests like yourself on and sharing their stories, and it's just gonna help so many people out. It's gonna help so many people out. And I want you to tell people not only what happened afterwards, because obviously your life changed, but it, to me, I think it changed in a way where it's like, wow, this is powerful. Like
mhm.
that moment, you're like, okay, how can I help someone else out? So this way, this doesn't happen to anybody else's family. And you started, go ahead.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I will tell you the day after Abby died, and I do go back to that. I go back and, everything is kind of before Abby passed away and after she passed away. And a lot of grieving parents, will do this because their life has been dramatically changed forever. And we miss them terribly. We love them with all of our hearts. And it's a struggle every day when you lose someone so close to suicide. Again, it's that horrible, frantic feeling of why didn't I do this and why didn't I do that? And you have to be very careful not to go down that rabbit hole. But I think the day after she died, the school called my husband, and he was a teacher at her school, and said, what do you want us to say? And he immediately said, we need to tell every young person that she was friends with that she died by suicide. She took her own life, because he didn't want anybody to think, oh my gosh, what could I have done differently? What could I mean, you're going to think that, but we didn't want any other horrific, suicide ideation or anything else to happen. And we needed people to understand that she was struggling with depression. Now, she told a few people that she was on medication and that she had depression, but it was just kind of her closest friends. And even then, she didn't talk about it a lot. So here we are, 6 years later, and at the beginning of this year in January, I was able to start my own foundation, and it's called My Friend Abby. And the whole purpose of the foundation is to empower young adults to actively create peer-to-peer connections through grants that improve mental and emotional health and allow young adults to take action and do something. So whether it's creative projects, could be poetry slam, it could be a play that they've written, it could be, painting rocks. There's all kinds of wonderful, I wanted to put the onus on the young adults, youth and young adults, and put my energies there because, and this is really important, Abby's friends were the ones that really rallied after she died. Again, the whole community was so shocked, but they quickly understood what a valuable life lesson this was. And they really, again, rallied and picked up on talking, instantly talking about how important our mental health is. So
It's
that's,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, which is
yeah,
beautiful, especially for young adults. In high school, as I said, nobody was talking about it. And not, we all felt that pressure, or we all was going through something at home, but nobody was talking about it. It wasn't a safe place. And for you to sit there and say, you know what, I'm gonna start my own nonprofit and actually help the young adults out that's talking about it, give them grants. So when they decide to go to college, they can have a little something of, man, I'm glad I'm a part of this. Or they can spread the word of not only my friend Abby, but mental health as well. Like, hey, are you okay? It's okay to not feel okay. Let's talk about it. Let's have this conversation. Or they can guide them to the next person, which is beautiful.
yeah, yeah. You don't have to be a professional to understand the basics of how to look out for a friend, how to, go with your gut if something doesn't feel right, or know the fact that it's so important to talk to a trusted adult. If a friend says something to you, if a friend entrusts you with the information and says, I'm going to take my own life, that you take that very
Yeah,
seriously. And then followed by that, they say, but don't tell my parents. And if you do, I will never be your friend again. That happens all the time. So you are, when that is put on you, you need to immediately make sure that you seek out help.
of
And
course.
that friend is going to be very grateful later on. So that's when somebody's in crisis mode. But there's some wonderful programs that young adults can take. Our organization itself is not, we don't deal in crisis mode. Again, we tried to go in very early on, 10 years plus, 10 years plus. Sadly, suicides are getting younger.
Yeah.
They're not slowing down right now, especially in today's environment. So again, the more we can open up and talk about it, the more we can plant those seeds and have young adults become passionate about self-care and mental health awareness and mental illness awareness.
Yeah.
I think the statistic is one in four young adults in the last couple of months have struggled with suicide ideation. That number is huge. People do not realize that suicide is the second leading cause of death
Yes.
in young adults, ages like 14 to 25.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Second leading cause of
that
death.
that was the cause of me just spreading my word. I sat down and I just started doing some research out of just curiosity, and I went down a rabbit hole that I was like, whoa, this is scary. And
Yeah.
especially now with the pandemic happening, I'm pretty sure the numbers got higher,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
they have, absolutely. And I also want to reiterate the fact that suicide does not discriminate. I know a big part of what we're also trying to do is just educate parents. This could happen to your family. This could happen to you. A lot of times you turn a blind eye. Listen, it's not a fun subject to talk
No,
about, is it?
no. It's
It's
not like sports or something where you're like, hey, did you see LeBron James? Did you see this? Did you see the Yankee game? It's like, no, this is
Yeah,
serious.
yeah. It's depressing. It's
Yeah.
depressing. It's hard. But it is there. It is in many, many families. And if
Hmm.
we don't talk about it, then we're going to be in even bigger trouble. So
Yeah.
again, I encourage, all of us, learning the steps. What do you do? There is the crisis text line, which we need to make sure we mention, which is you can text home, HOME, to 741-741. And then there's also the suicide hotline, which is a really important number, which I have to look at my piece of paper here because I should know this off the top of my head. But it is changing in 2000. In next year it's going to change. But right now it's 1-800-273-TALK. So that's 1-800-273-8255. It's important things like that we have to remember.
Yeah.
And again, I need to memorize that number.
Oh,
Everybody
trust
should
me.
know that next
There's
time.
been some people that's been in my DMs and they've been showing the red flags of, oh, okay, hey, we can talk all day, anytime, and I'll send them to the crisis number. Like, hey, seek a professional, man.
Yes. Yeah.
And they get uncomfortable, they get mad. Why are you telling me I'm talking to you? And it's like, yes, but at the same time, I'm not physically there with you. You're literally thousands of miles away. I'm here with you talking, but talk to them, DM me, we can do this together. And
Yeah.
it helped. And it helped.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help, with getting therapy, with getting, you might need medication, just making sure that you have a whole army behind you,
Yeah.
because your life is so valuable. Your life is so very important. And there is so much more that you have to look forward to. That struggle is not necessarily just a one-time thing. You could live with depression and suicide ideation for the rest of your life, but you can figure out how to manage it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so very important.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I had a conversation with a psychiatrist. I had him on as a guest, and I was telling him, you know, people on the outside they look at, oh man, I have to take this medicine as a bad thing, and I explained to him it's not. I think the way we view mental health, people feel like that, but I try to explain to them it's not. Sometimes we need assistance, it's okay. We all we all need help at some point, but
Yeah.
don't feel bad that you need help. There's some people that may be going through things that no one knows about, right? Like, oh, somebody's a diabetic, but they have to take some sort of diabetic medicine, some insulin. And it's like,
That's
that's
right.
fine. That's okay. That is normalized. Why can't we normalize taking meds from a psychiatrist and it's just helping you stay stable?
Yeah. And the one word that always comes to mind for me also is the word shame.
Mm-hmm.
We should never be ashamed of what we're going through. There's so many statistics right now in the LGBTQ community, in the Black community. There's so much going on culturally. There's history
Yeah.
of culture that, families don't talk about this. We don't talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many people say to me, oh my gosh, I had an uncle who took his own life 10 years ago, and my family didn't even tell me about it until last year. They told
Yeah.
me he died from a heart attack. I mean, we have to stop the shame. We have
Mm-hmm.
to stop that stigma.
I think now with social media, and especially like with the pandemic, you see everybody's talking about it. And
Yeah.
it sucks that it took a pandemic for people to really, hey, this mental health thing is serious. I
Yeah.
think once everybody was quarantined and you can't leave the house, or they're telling you we're on lockdown, you realize, wow, this is how someone feels when they're depressed. They're not able to be their self. That they instead of being in a prison of their house, they're in a prison in their mind. Let's give these people some credit.
That's right.
Let's.
There's physical isolation, which is what we're all dealing with now with the
Mhm,
pandemic, and then there's that isolation in your head
mhm,
that many people have, and that's why connection is so important, and that's why, again, I created my friend Abby, because we are all about connecting peers, understanding that we all have a story to tell, and we can all be there for each other.
yeah.
And I think the more we are outward about doing projects when we give out grants. So we have a process now. I'm really excited about it. Again, the organization just became official in January, but we have a process where every quarter we give out grants to young adults. We have online you can apply. I would love to encourage your audience to apply for grants. Again, from the age
Everything will be in the description.
Oh,
Trust me.
good,
Yes,
good.
yes, yes.
So from the age of 10 to 26, if you have an idea about, getting out there and being bold and doing something about mental health. I mean, even, some of the projects, we had a couple of young girls who, at the very height of the pandemic, they went out together, socially distanced, and they picked up garbage, because a lot of the garbage pickup wasn't being done in some of the trails that are, in the area, in their area. They did it, and they talked about how good it was for their mental health just to be outside, just to be
Mm-hmm.
doing something physical. It sounds small, but it's huge, and it's so encouraging, I think, to others.
Oh yeah, of course, of course, of course. Before we go, please tell people how to find you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the organization is my friend Abby, and our website is myfriendabby.org. And there's lots of information there on how you can apply, for a grant. We're certainly on Instagram and Facebook. You just look up My Friend Abby. And I think we're a unique organization in that we don't work directly with the schools. We are working directly with young adults because, again, I saw that passion after Abby died. Her friends just picked up and ran with the whole concept of trying to help others. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Abby had an amazing English teacher, and he, on the last day of school, he said, write about whatever you want. She chose to write an aspirational list. How ironic is that?
Yeah.
Her list included some amazing fun things that 15-year-olds talk about, like I want to meet Chance the Rapper. I want to swim in the Maldive Islands. I want to, ride in the back of a police cruiser. I want to be on The Price is Right. She had all these fun things. But again, what her friends picked up on, she had 38 items on this list. And number 37 was help others in a big way. And number 38 was live a happy life. And those are things that we aspire to do every single day with our organization.
I love it. I love it. I'm so grateful for our connection.
I am
and
too.
I'm so grateful to have you on this podcast, of course, and sharing this. I think people need to hear this, especially the young adults.
Thank you so much, Herbie. I really do appreciate it. And you keep up the good work. It's amazing what you're doing and really, really inspiring others. I think it's so important. And if anybody has any questions, they can certainly email me. It's info@myfriendabby.org.
Thank you. With that being said, this is the podcast. Until then, I'll see you next week. Have a good one, guys.